Hey guys, I want to talk about leash pressure because I've been really getting a lot of mileage out of this concept of five different levels of leash pressure. I just had a lesson a few minutes ago with somebody where I explained this, and I think it's ready. I'm ready to put it out there. So here we go. So like I said, there's five basic levels of leash pressure that I work on, and I want to make it real clear before I get too far into this that a lot of these levels are not about the intensity of the leash pressure, but about the intent and the communication, the purpose that we're using them for, right? So you might have something that might be, for one dog, be a level one, but might be a level two for a different dog, or the level two for the same dog if your attitude is a little different, all right? And this will make more sense as we go through it. So level one is what I call gentle guidance, and it is my favorite place to work. It's where I think the most valuable stuff happens. And that's when the leash is being used to guide the dog where we want. It's not oppositional. The pressure should rarely be, if ever be, enough that the dog has to actively resist it. In other words, I put a little pressure on the dog, and the dog's natural uh, homeostasis kicks in, and they don't have to actually make an effort to fight it, but the body, just to maintain the balance, sort of adjusts. That's the level that I want it at, so that I can communicate with the dog and guide the dog to where I want. Now, there's a lot of leash techniques that you can use to help build that and make that work better. I think that the number one reason why people don't use this level as often is because it's not intuitive. In other words, the things we do with the leash intuitively tend to push us into a different level, which we'll get to in just a minute. So with a little coaching though, most people can learn to use this level, and most dogs can learn to respond to it really easily, right? So that's level one, gentle guidance. It's the most productive level. Level two is where I think most people end up with their dogs most of the time, and it's kind of the least productive level. It's the level that creates the most frustration in the dog, the most resistance in the dog, and the most frustration for the owner. And I call that ineffective insistence. That's when you try to insist, you try to say, hey, I want you to do this. So let's say you're trying to do level one, you're trying to do this soft guiding pressure with the dog, and the dog's like, I really want to go over there. And you don't want to be a jerk. You don't want to be mean and say, hey, don't do that. So you kind of just increase the pressure a little bit. Hey, come on, come on, come on. But in your head, you're trying to kind of communicate to the dog a little bit. Hey, I can make this unpleasant if you make me. So there's a little bit of an implied threat there, not a lot, just a little bit. And the dog goes, oh yeah, and they start leaning into it more, and you end up in this like really kind of unpleasant thing. Or the other way where it might work out is like you've seen people, I'm sure they're walking their dog, and the dog is just leaning into the collar and pulling. They're just kind of almost leaning back as they walk the dog, and that's just how they walk. In both of those things, what the dog learns, I think, is that you're trying to impose your will, but not being successful at it. In other words, you're trying to insist, but you're not good at it. The dog is learning, you know what? I can kind of ignore this because they're ineffectual at stopping me. And there's no motivation for them to ignore that. The pressure isn't unpleasant enough to get them to stop the behavior, and nor are you capable of stopping the behavior firmly. So that's really not a good place to be. It doesn't help us out a lot. But again, I think that's where most people end up sort of gravitating. That's the balance point that most people get to with their dogs. The third level is effective insistence or firm insistence. And that is when, like, any time that you stop a dog from doing something with a leash, you are using firm assistance, unless you're putting a little bit extra spice into it because you're mad at the dog or you want to make them avoid that. We'll talk about those levels in a minute. But like if you're walking with your dog, old school pressure leash, you're walking with a dog, the dog goes to the end of the leash, and you stop them and you just hold and you wait for them to give you slack. That is effective insistence. You're not allowing them to move. Their resistance to the leash is not effective. It is not getting them anywhere. And when they give up on it, you go, okay, you give them that slack and we get to walk again. That's a great example of it. Another example, you're walking the dog and they're leaning towards, they want to go smell that thing in the grass or go see that other dog. And they're like, "Ugh," and you stop and you try and this and they're just leaning into it. So you go, you know what, we're going to go the other way. You just turn around and go emotionless, dispassionately. You just go, we're just going here. Anytime that you pull the dog away from something without making it an emotional event, dog is trying to run into the street or chase a bike, you know, we're not doing that. And you calmly, without threat, without any kind of resentment or any kind of social consequence, you just go, no, we're not doing this, and you go. That's effective insistence. And that is where, when I'm doing level one and the dog goes, I'm not listening to you, I skip level two and go straight to level three. Once I've decided the dog is checked out of the conversation, they're no longer participating, That's when I go to level 3. I skip level 2. Nothing good happens in level 2, guys. I can't stress that enough. Nothing good happens in level 2. Now we get to level 4, which is what I call avoidance pressure. And this is, generally speaking, I'm only going to use this when the dog already understands what's expected and has shown they're capable of doing it. I know they're physically capable of it. I know they're mentally capable of it. I know they have the biological resources to do it. But they're just, for whatever reason, going, you know what? I'll take the leash pressure. I'll take the reduction in rewards. I don't really care. I really kind of want to do this. And that's when we add a little bit extra pressure to make it less pleasant for the dog. Make them go, you know what? I really don't want to invite that again. Now, I know some people aren't into that. I know some people don't like that, and that's cool. Like, I think on a long enough timeline, we can probably avoid that with almost every dog and get what we want through patient persistence. But unfortunately, in this world, in this industry, we don't always have an unlimited timeline. Sometimes we have a very finite goal that we have to hit. And I don't have a problem with making enough pressure that the dog goes, you know what? That wasn't very fun. I don't think I want to do that again. But again, it should be done dispassionately. It should not be done like, hey, dog. It should be like, oh, okay, see, that wasn't fun, right? And it's a hard thing to describe, but when you see it, you go, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? So that's, with that level, again, we try and use it with dogs that already know what they're doing. They already know what they're supposed to do. And like medicine, we want to use the minimum effective dose. Level 4 is minimum effective dose. Now, level 5 is the natural consequence of people getting stuck in level 2. They get stuck in level 2, and the dog is like going, I'm not going to listen to you. You're going to listen to me. The dog goes, I'm not going to listen to you. You're going to listen to me. Everybody gets frustrated, and then you go, hey, I said, listen to me. And the dog goes, whoa, dude, why are you so mad, right? That is what I call the revenge pressure. That is when you're not using the minimum effective dose. You're not just simply creating a situation where the dog is going to be not likely to want to repeat that experience. You're actually taking a little bit of vengeance on the dog for the personal. You've taken it personally. Your dog is ignoring you. The dog is not listening to you. The dog is blowing you off. You're like, hey, you don't have a right to do that. And you let that emotion get in there and just, right? And that, again, is not a great level. Yes, you can teach them that level, and a lot of people do. As a matter of fact, for many of my clients, it's the only level they get their dog to listen to. But that's not because that level is the best level to teach. It's that because they have basically 2 levels. They have ineffective insistence, and they have, I'm now frustrated with you, and I'm going to make you do it level. They're missing all of those in-between levels. So that's not a good level either. Right? So that's it for now, guys. Those are my 5 levels of leash pressure. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Hit me up in the comments. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.